I want to make a quick video. I just ran into some dude named Tony Gaskins on TikTok. Very well spoken. He says a lot of things that I resonate with, and most men I think would resonate with. But he does something where I don't typically agree with. I'm somebody that I love to talk about my marriage, things that I've been through, the importance of being open with your woman. And I like to talk to women too, like what men are looking for, what men need in order for them to be the man that the woman needs of them. What the woman needs from them, and the type of man the woman needs. And how to cultivate an environment where you can actually get that from your man. But the Tony Gaskins dude, he only speaks to men, and he talks to men as if men with issues, and I'm talking about like personal issues, like ones who gamble, ones who smoke weed, ones who frequent strip clubs, ones who drink and things like that, ones who aren't the man that they maybe signed up to be. And he shits on them in a very, very nice way, and not even a nice way. I mean, as in a way where it sounds great because he's very well spoken, and he makes it seem as if like men don't want to do these things. Most of the men that I know that are married or in relationships and things of that nature, even my single friends and men that I know that are single, they want these things. All people want are the same things. They want to be loved, they want to be respected, and they want to have a place in this world, a place in their home, a place in a relationship, a place in their kids' life, a place. They want a place. But he speaks as if men don't want these things because they engage in activities of self-sabotage. I myself am no different. I have engaged in things that are self-sabotage. And you know what it does to me? It fucks me up. It makes me look at myself in the mirror and question what I'm actually looking at. It makes me question myself in decision making. It makes me question myself as far as am I strong enough to carry the burden that I threw on my back? And it does all these different things to me. And even though I know these things might be self-sabotage, I engage in these things just like everybody else because it gives you some semblance of control. And it's not okay, but it's part of the human evolution. It's part of the human plight. It's part of everything. It's how we go from here to here. And it makes going from here to here worth it when you can learn to overcome those inner demons and battles and start to grow from it. I wrote mad comments on his one video where he was essentially shitting on men who basically said that they're unhappy in their relationship. And he's like, well, do you watch porn? Well, do you masturbate? Do you drink? Do you smoke? Do you do all these different things? He's like, well, that's your problem right there. But why do they do these things? A lot of these people, and I'm speaking from personal experience, a lot of the people that engage in these things, they're hiding from something. They're trying to put band-aids on something that needs stitches. They're putting stitches on something that needs surgery. You know what I'm saying? And even though what they're engaging in might not make them feel good overall, in that moment that they're engaging in it, it feels good. And it gives them some semblance of control. So I wrote a bunch of comments essentially saying, if you're going to shit on men, you also got to shed light on the fact that men come with their own baggage. I understand as a man, my job is to be there to support my wife. But as a wife, her job is also supposed to be there to support me as her husband. My wife and I do something in the house called safe space. Well, it doesn't matter what we're doing. If we're in the house and we call this safe space or just anywhere where it's just us two, and she says, hey, I need a safe space. That means shut your mouth and listen. You can't don't take no offense to it. We can unpack all those other things after, but I have to stop carrying this. I have to let this go, and I have to let you know what I'm going through in this moment in time. And for me, I was so embarrassed when this first took hold that the first time I used a safe space, I couldn't look at my wife. We had to sit back to back, and I had to speak because I was so embarrassed of what I was about to let my wife know. And I broke down in the middle of this safe space, and she turned around and she hugged me. And for the first time in my entire life, this was 2020, for the first time in 25 years, I felt like it was okay for me to feel the way that I felt. And for the first time in 25 years, I felt like I wasn't going to be abandoned just because of things that were out of my control from when I was a child. But things that as a grown man at 25 years old, I hadn't unpacked and I hadn't learned how to talk about it. And because of that, I engaged in a lot of behaviors that weren't good for my health. Forget the relationship, the health of the relationship, my personal health, my overall well-being, my relationship, my family, and everything in between. But it took 25 years. Women have come in and out of my life by this point. Family have come in and out of my life. I still have both my parents. I have godparents that I trust with pretty much everything. And there was no place that up until that point that I have felt safe enough to let anyone know. But from the outside looking in, it looks like I'm involved in destructive behaviors. But why? And it's because of things that I was carrying from when I was a 7-year-old boy. And that's 18 years I got used to holding on to this and bottling this and burying this. And now just because I'm married, I'm supposed to feel okay. By this point, my wife and I had been together for 10 years and married for 1. So 11 years into our relationship, I had just felt safe enough for her to see a side of me in which she had never seen, in which I had never been felt safe enough to tell her. And you know why? Because my wife also has her own battles and her own demons to unpack. And although she was able to unpack hers a little bit sooner than me, she still had her own, and which made her engage in destructive behaviors. And her destructive behaviors didn't look like mine, but destructive nonetheless, to her personal self, to herself. Forget the relationship, to herself and her overall well-being, in our relationship, in our family relationship, and friendships, and everything in between. My point is, and I'm speaking to Tony Gaskins, if you're going to tell the story, you got to tell the whole story. And you got to tell both sides of the coin. Because humans, especially men, are very layered. And you're older than I am, so you probably know a little bit more than I do. However, I've lived enough in my 28 years to know, and I've experienced enough personally in my 28 years to know that there's a lot more to be said than what you're saying. And now I'm judging this off of 6 clips that I've watched that were all about 2-3 minutes apiece. So I didn't get the opportunity to watch the whole thing, but as I said, I agree with a lot of the things that you say. However, I do want you to post some clips speaking on the other side of the coin. Because if that's all people see is these 2 to 3 minute clips and 6 of them, and all you're doing is bashing men for being people and having human issues, I understand why people don't want to talk to you. Because there's a bias. I would love to talk to you, because I think we can have a very articulate conversation. However, this is coming from somebody who agrees but also disagrees with you. That I think that you can be a little bit more empathetic to the nature of men, first and foremost, especially being a man yourself, and 9 times out of 10 understanding. And 2, the relationship of the world in accordance to men and the expectation of men. Because men aren't people who are just open with the way that they feel about things. That's just not the way most men are brought up. In fact, it's shown as weakness to be emotional and to show your emotion in many cases. Unless you grow up in a household or got somebody in your family that is emotionally intelligent, I could tell you firsthand that even though I've had 3 male role models in my life, none of them talked about emotional intelligence. They taught me about finances. They taught me about how to protect myself sexually. They taught me about what to look for in women. They taught me about, how to wealth build in some cases. Some of them, how to fucking sell drugs. Whatever the case may be, a whole bunch of shit. Emotional intelligence was none of it. And most men that I meet today and most men that I've encountered in my life don't know much about emotional intelligence. And most men that don't know about emotional intelligence don't go to therapy to learn about emotional intelligence. So we have to be empathetic to the fact that some of these people might be limited in their education as far as how to become whole as a person. Forget the relationship aspect. Forget trying to be supportive of a woman. How to be whole as an individual. More men around the world commit suicide than I'm saying any other gender, like there's more than 2. Sorry, LGBTQ. I only believe there's 2. But more men commit suicide. That's the fact. It is what it is. So we cannot bypass the fact that men aren't having problems. And men are showing that they're having problems by their behaviors that they exhibit and the destructive behaviors they engage in. So the real question is, why? And when we start to unpack that is when we can really start to figure out how we can take these men that jumped into commitments before they were actually ready and how we can help them catch up so that way they can actually fulfill the roles that they put themselves into. And we have to do that by helping each other and not by making each other feel like shit for being human. Peace.